Hey folks, um, welcome back to the channel. Uh, so I'm going to talk about plans on our farm and how far a plan gets. So, in a way, we always have a plan, what we're doing, when we're doing it, on and on and on. That changes very often around here. Um, so, the most recent change of plans. Um, so we got this 20 by 50 here by the road. Um, I've said it a few times now that we were going to put high moisture corn in this silo. Um, what we have done in previous year, when I was growing up, it was plump full with corn silage. The last, I want to say like 3 years, we'd fill it, probably put about 40 foot of corn silage in. We would then start immediately feeding out of it. Um, Feeding out of it until we did high moisture corn. And then what we'd do is we'd raise the unloader up and we'd put probably about 20 foot or so of high moisture corn in. And then we'd set the unloader back down and start running our high moisture corn out, and then getting the silage out of the pit across the road. Um, the original plan, probably about the middle of summer, we had decided that we were going to feed more high moisture corn, so we're going to pretty much fill both of the uprights over here. We got the 8, I can't remember what that silo is. I think it's a 16 by 70. Or 18. I think it's a 16. I don't know. 16 by 70, which is always full of high moisture corn. And we got the 20 by 50, which has been kind of a mixture the last couple years. So we were going to fill both silos of high moisture corn, or mainly just put high moisture corn in both of them. I don't know if we would have filled them both. Probably, I don't know. It would kind of depend. But in the last week, we are pretty much out of high moisture corn. The other silo is pretty much down to, I don't know, the stuff we're blowing out now is pretty nasty. It's not great. And because of that, and because of corn harvest being quite a ways away yet, we went out and bought what's called wet cake. Now we are very familiar with like wet distillers or modified distillers, which is a high moisture distiller's grain sort of thing. We feed a lot of dried distillers, but the ethanol plant we go to has quit making the modified distillers. I want to say they might still have wet distillers, which is really wet. We always got the modified, which is dried a little bit. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but actually we used to get that stuff and actually layer it into our silage when we filled silo. We'd get 5 or 6, maybe almost 7 loads of that stuff and just kind of layer it in. The one pit we'd dump 2 loads in the bottom, put silage, and then we'd put a load or 2 in the middle, and then finish it off with silage, and for the other 3 pits kind of do the same thing. So the ethanol plant has quit making that. We went to another plant, which is just a town over from them, and they do corn milling. I believe they make flour. I'm not entirely sure what they do. But anyways, they got what's called wet cake, which in a way is basically distillers, but the protein content is, I want to say 9.5. So it's very, very similar to corn, probably almost identical to what we are feeding. But we got that stuff, and it's been working really good this last week. Now it's only been a week, but we're getting another load tomorrow, and so far we're really liking how it's working. And because that's working so well, and it's actually really, I don't want to call it inexpensive, but when you look at how much corn we would have to use to combine into the silo versus buying that, it actually, we figure we're going to make money in a way, selling more corn and buying that. So the tentative plan, the new tentative plan now, we're going to feed the wet cake for wet cake for 6 months here, starting now, or last week I guess, until probably about April or so. The 16 by 70 is going to get filled full of high moisture corn. We're going to level it off, and let's see, I think we put a piece of plastic on the top just because. We'll fill that as full as we can get it, and it will feed, oh sorry, it's been a long day. We'll feed that wet cake until we're figuring about April. We had a little bit, we talked it over for a while. We weren't sure if it was going to freeze solid, or if it was going to, give us any problems in the winter. And as far as we can tell, it shouldn't be too bad. We'd probably get, I believe we get about 20, I think it was about 20 tons we got on that last load. And if we could do about 20 ton a week, that would be perfect. I'm not sure what the dried distillers is going to do, if he's still feeding that, or if we're just going to maybe feed more of the wet cake and forget the the wet or the dried distillers. We're paying, I think, over $100 a ton, and this stuff is like 38 or something like that a ton. It's going to change with the corn market, but that's going to change with the corn market. Corn's going to change with the corn market, so if we have more corn to sell at a higher price, it all. One big thing I would like to incorporate onto our farm is grain bins, grain storage, a grain dryer. It's a must in the next few years here. For one thing, the co-op we go through is kind of killing us with dryer expenses and all that, drying our corn and whatnot. But so yeah, this is kind of an update video. The plans have changed. The plans are never the same. It's constantly changing around here, but stay tuned for more chopping. Hopefully combining, baling some straw. Like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you next time.